Hey, I want to do a quick demo of how to take some code that works and turn it into a function. We linked to this in both the challenge sets, but let's step through the process a little bit. I'm going to run this just so we can see what happens. Thank you to Grace. I'm borrowing your code, or at least a piece of it. If we run this program, there it is. There's our triangle. So what do? We define width and height. We make a window. And then we only have three variables here. We have a length of the side, and we have a single point, an x and a y, and then everything else is computed based on those variables. So we figure out the height by doing the reverse Pythagorean theorem, and then we compute. So point 1 just uses x and y. Point 2 simply adds length to the x. So point 1 is over here, point 2 is here. And then point 3 subtracts the height value from y, so we get that y value, and then it just takes the average of those two x values to figure out where that middle x is going to be. So this is great. So let's write a generalized function for doing equilateral triangles. So I'm going to write def, and we'll call e triangle will be the name of our function. And we're going to need two parameters. We're going to need a point from where to start from, and then a length of the side of our triangle. And then we do colon, we indent. And now all we have to do is move our code inside. So I am going to move all this code up a few lines, and then I'm going to indent it. And you know what? Let's indent this one too. We're actually going to draw it. And then we're going to have that's going to run into a little bit of a problem later, but we'll see what happens. So now I'm going to actually move our variables down here. And so now we can call our e-triangle function with a point which consists of x and y and our length. Now the other thing we have to do is, because we called it length here, I'm going to change all those capital L's to length. I could have used capital L for the name of the parameter, but just so it's clear that we are using the parameter that was passed in and not necessarily the variable out here. And the other thing we need to do is, we didn't pass in an x and y, we passed in a point. So I'm going to call it point.x and point.y. Point.x, point.y, and we have to type it a whole bunch here. Point.x plus point.x. I'll put some spaces in here to make it easier to read. And point.y minus h, make a new polygon, draw that, great. There's probably some mistakes in here, but I'm doing this live without a rehearsal. So let's see what happens. So if I run this again, there it is. Let's test to make sure it works. I'm going to set y to be 200, and we're going to set the length to be 60, and run it again. It seems like it's working. Okay, so there's one funny thing about this, and that is this win variable right here. The only reason this works is that we defined win inside the same file. So rather than actually make our function draw our triangle, I'm going to return t. In other words, when the function is done, just give that triangle back. Don't do anything with it. So now I can say t equals that function. And what that's going to do is it's going to run the function, and then it's going to return t. And so, you know what? I want to call these different things just so we can make sure we know what we're talking about. So it's going to set a triangle to be equal to that polygon, and then return the triangle variable. And then down here, we're going to stuff the result of calling that function into t. And now that our triangle function has a return value, it will get put into t. And then we can say t draw win. Sorry, I'm typing JavaScript there as I go. Let's run this again. And it looks like it's still working. So now we have a new function. I call it e-triangle. We could call it equilateral triangle. And then we have to change it down here as well. And let's run this. And nothing happened. What did I do wrong this time? Equilateral. Right, there we go. You guys probably saw that before I did, huh? You're probably watching the video going, Mr. Ray, you spelled it wrong. Oh, look, I'm doing it again. Okay, third time's a charm. There's our triangle. And let's just change the values once more. We'll say x is equal to 30, and the side is going to be equal to 120. It's looking good, huh? All right. So that is how we take some code that was working, first turned it into a function that uses only variables, and then we call it by passing in values. And then we return something at the end of it. So down here, we say t equals, and we call our function passing it a point and a length, right? We've got a point and a length, and then we get back something from that function, which becomes t, and then we can tell t to draw itself. And that is how we can turn some of our code into a function.